Shalom, Israel, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shema Mashiach, Wamalak Yahweh Shai. All praises to the Most High God in the name of His only begotten Son and King Yahweh Shai. Right? I want to give a mighty shalom to all the brothers out there and sisters out there that's being steadfast in His truth and unmovable. Right? A mighty shalom to the brothers that's out there putting in the work on the highways and byways, making your body a living sacrifice. And also a mighty shalom to all the sisters that's holding it down in the household, man. All right. I know we want to get straight into it, right? With this Monday milk lesson, right? Where we're gonna be talking about how the law was only given to Israel, man. And right? And how the Bible is only for the Israelites, right? Because everybody in the world would just love to open up this book and just read it as if it was written for them. But it was written only for the Israelites. The scriptures was only given to the Israelites, simply for the Israelites to learn, right? To learn from the examples, right? From our forefathers, right? To learn from our forefathers' mistakes, right? And how to be perfect, man. Right? Let's get Romans chapter 15 and verse 4 real quick. And while this lesson is going out, right, brothers and sisters should be having their apocrypha and Bible, and also a pen and pad, right, to write down these scriptures and to self-reflect on these scriptures. All right, let's get Romans chapter 15 and verse number 4. All right, this is Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. Right? So all the things that were written aforetime, all the scriptures, right, were written for our learning. Were written for the Israelites' learning, right? Was written for us to learn from the scriptures. It wasn't written for the so-called white man, right? It wasn't written for the so-called Arabians, man, the Arabs, or the Chinese, man, right? Or the Africans, right? It was only written for the Israelites so that we can learn from them, right? So we can learn from our righteous forefathers, right? That we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. Through these scriptures, we get hope, right? Through these scriptures, we have faith in Yahweh Shema Shai, right? We haven't seen Yahweh Shai, right, in the flesh. We haven't seen the Most High God, but through these scriptures, it gives us hope, right, and faith that the Most High God is real, man. The Most High God is true, right? And the Most High God is the God of Israel and the God of Israel only, man. Right? So let's go to Psalms chapter 78 and verse 5. Psalms chapter 78 and verse number 5. Right? This lesson, right? This lesson is called The Law Was Only Given to Israel. Right? The law was only given to Israel, man. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the Seminole Indians, man. This law, the law of God, man, the law was given to the Israelites and the Israelites only. And there's many accounts through the scriptures that can prove it. And that's where we're going to get today. All right? So this is Psalms chapter 78 and verse number 5. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to their children. Right? So the Most High God, he appointed a law to the Israelites, man. Right? He gave a law to the Israelites so that the fathers could teach them and make them known to their children, huh? Right? Because the Most High God had a delight in our fathers, right? Real quick, let's get Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse number 15, right? Because he wanted our fathers to be to the father of the Israelites, man, to make them known to the generations passed on down, right, of the laws, right? To continue to have hope in the Most High, to continue to keep his laws, statutes, and commandments from generation to generation. So this was only given to the Israelites, right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse number 15. All right. I'm going to start at verse 14. I'm going to start at verse number 12. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse number 12. And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Right? So that's what's required of the Israelites, right? To love the Most High God, man. To walk in all his ways. Right? And there's more on that. Verse 13. To keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. Right? So that's what's required of the Israelites, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? To keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. That's another way of proving that the law, statutes, and commandments were only given to the Israelites, because that's what's required of the Israelites to keep the commandments. Now it didn't say now eat them. All right. What doth the Lord thy God require of thee? It didn't say, oh, now Ammon, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee? It said, and now Israel, the Israelites, man. The Israelites, what does the Lord thy God require of thee? And in verse 13, it says to keep his commandments, man. Right? Verse 14, behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens is the Lord's thy God, the earth also, which all that therein is. Only the Lord had a delight in thy fathers to love them. So the Most High only had a delight in our forefathers, man, to love them. He don't love everybody on the earth, right? He only loves the fathers of the Israelites, man. Right? Reading on. And he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day. Right? He chose the seed of the Israelites, the seed of Jacob, man, which name was later on changed to Israel. Right? He loved his seed, man. He loved Jacob's seed, and even you this very day, right? It had to say even you, because even in 2023, a lot of people would say that y'all not the sons of God, y'all not children of the Most High, right? That's why the scripture says even you, right? Even you above all people, as it is this day. Even in 2023, you're still God's chosen people. Even in 2023, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the law was given to you. Even in 2023, the Most High God is still having mercy on Israel, man. Waking up people each and every day, man. Coming back to this truth. Right? So this law, the law, statutes, and commandments was only given to Israel. Right? Let's go back to Psalms chapter 78. Psalms chapter 78 and starting at the top of 5, right? This is Psalms chapter 78 and verse number 5. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to their children. Right? So the Most High God gave our forefathers the law, statutes, and commandments so they can make them known to their descendants, to their seed, to their children. Right? That the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born. Right? That's generation to generation. Right? The parents constantly have to teach their children the law, statutes, and commandments. That's what's commanded of us. Right? Who should arise and declare them to their children. This has to be taught to your children. The law, statutes, and commandments, as being an Israelite, the law, statutes, and commandments have to be taught to the children so that they can teach their children. So they can teach their children, and so on and so forth. It trickles on down to generation. All right, let's get Deuteronomy real quick. All right, chapter 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse number 6, right? And these words which I command thee this day should be in thine heart. Right? So these laws, statutes, and commandments should constantly be in your mind. Right? Each and every day you should wake up thinking of some precepts, thinking of the words of Yahweh Shem Shai. Each and every single day. Each and every single day you should want to open up your scriptures and kind of read through the accounts, man. Right? Verse 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. Right? You have to be diligent in teaching your children these laws, statutes, and commandments. You have to be consistent in this thing. Right? Each and every day you should be teaching your child something different in the scriptures, because there's many stories and there's much knowledge, man. Right? And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in the house. Right? So even when you're sitting, when your children are just sitting in the house, man, right? Just sitting in the house, probably not doing nothing, just on their iPad, right? On the computer, right? While watching cartoons, right? You should be trying to teach your son and your daughter at that very moment the law, statutes, and commandments, so it can be instilled in their mind that they will never forget it, right? And when thou walkest by the way, and even at a time when you walking, your children around the block, right? You walking the children to the park, or you ask them, oh, what precept is it? What's the law of the fringes, right? What's the dietary law, right? Are we supposed to be eating swine, right? What type of fish can we eat, right? It's certain laws, right? It's the whole law that's supposed to be taught to our children each and every day, right? And when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, right? Even when our children are going to sleep, man, it should be a bedtime story, right? And when thou rises up, even when the children are awakened out of their sleep, man, you should give them a law to remember, right? Teach them the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Teach them of the certain stories that's recorded in the scriptures, man, because those are the generations to come. Those are the generations that the Most High God is going to look at differently, man. He's going to deal with them different. Because one, right, just as them being born, right, they not out here eating no shrimp, crab, lobster, or pork. They not celebrating Halloween. They not celebrating Christmas, right? They growing up being an Israelite. The young princess, princes are learning to be princes and kings when they grow up. And the young little girls are learning to be princesses, man. So they're going to be accounted blameless to the Most High God. As long as you teach them the laws, statutes, and commandments each and every day, you be diligent, right? Let's go back to Psalms chapter 78, right? Psalms chapter 78 and verse number 6, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children, that they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep the commandments, right? You don't want your children to forget about the Most High God, right? You want your children to constantly think about the Most High God and think about his works. Think about how mighty he is, man. All the power he has and all the power he could give them. Constantly have your children thinking about the law, statutes, and commandments, because the laws were given to the Israelites and the Israelites only, man. All right? Reading on, verse number 7, or Salakia, verse number 8. It might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, whose spirit was not steadfast with God, right? You want to kind of learn from their mistakes, right? Teaching this to the children, right? You don't want your children to make the same mistakes that you made, right? Growing up in a wicked society, not even knowing about the truth at a young age, right? If you have a 1 year old, a couple months, right? Your baby is a couple months growing up in this truth, right? That's a blessing because now that gives you a chance to instill in them the law, statutes, and commandments, which is commanded of you to do. Because what? The law, statutes, and commandments are only for the Israelites and the Israelites only, right? Let's get Sirach. Sirach chapter 17 and verse 11. Sirach chapter 17 and verse 11. All right. This is Sirach chapter 17 and verse number 11. Beside this, he gave them knowledge in the law of life for an heritage, man. Right? So these laws, statutes, and commandments was given to the Israelites for an heritage. It was given to us for an heritage, which is also like an inheritance, right? A portion, right? It was given to the Israelites as a law, right? The law was given to the Israelites as a portion, man. Right? This is our portion. The law, statutes, and commandments is what makes the Israelites separate from everybody else. Because everybody else can't keep the law like we can, man. We're the ones that the laws was given to, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? And it's time for our people to understand that. And with this lesson, right, you will understand that the law, statutes, and commandments was only given to the Israelites. That way you'll be able to teach other brothers and sisters the same thing. Right? So that's why it's important to also write down these precepts, right? And having a breakdown of them as well. Right? Let's get Leviticus chapter 27. Right? Leviticus chapter 27 and verse number 34. Salakia. Salakia, Israel. Bear with me. Come on. All right. This is Leviticus chapter 27 and verse number 34. All right. These are the commandments which the Lord commanded Moses for the children of Israel in Mount Sinai. Right? Let me read that again. Right? Because it's plain upon tables. Right? Most of these scriptures you really don't even need a breakdown for it. It says what it says, man. Right? Leviticus chapter 27 and verse 34. These are the commandments which the Lord commanded Moses for the children of Israel in Mount Sinai. Right? These laws, statutes, and commandments was given to Moses to give to the Israelites, man. Not to any other nation, right? Not to all these heathen, man. It's not for them. It's for the Hebrew Israelites. As being chosen and a separate people from the Most High God, right? These laws, statutes, and commandments is what make you separate, man. Because not everybody's supposed to be wearing the fringes, man. Right? Hebrew Israelites, that's a law for the Hebrew Israelites, man. Eating the shrimp, crab, lobster, and pork, right? And catfish, man. Right? That's the law for the Israelites. These laws, statutes, and commandments was given to the Israelites and for their generations, right? The ones that are not born yet, right? Let's get Psalms chapter 147 and verse number 19. All right. Let's get Psalms chapter 147 and verse 19. All right. This is Psalms chapter 147 and verse number 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. Right? It's playing upon tables, man. I don't see how people can read these scriptures, right, and say something different. There's no reason why there should be any doctrine out there saying that the laws were given to everybody. There should be no doctrine out there saying that the laws are done away with, right? It should be none of that. It's plain upon tables that the word was given unto Jacob, man. His statutes and his judgments unto Israel. The scriptures say what it say, man. You can't go against the scriptures, man. Now, if you try to go against the scriptures, hey, you just going off, right? That's why sometimes the scriptures, the Bible is not supposed to be given into the hands of the damn heathen, man. These are our records. This is our book. The only people that should be touching the Bible is Hebrew Israelites, man. Right? Certain letters, man, right? Only given to the Israelites. That's like me coming to your house and open up your mail. Right? It wasn't written to me, but it was written to you. That's what these heathen did. They kind of took our book, opened it up, and just started reading, man. Trying to get an understanding of our book. When the only way you can get an understanding of these scriptures is if you keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Right? Let's get that real quick. Because I just can't say that and not prove it, man. All right? Let's get Sirach, right? Chapter 21 and verse number 11. All right? This Sirach, chapter 21 and verse 11. Salakia. He that keepeth the law of the Lord getteth the understanding thereof. And the perfection of the fear of the Lord is wisdom. So if you keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, you're going to get understanding of the rest of the scriptures, right? That's why these other nations cannot get a true understanding of the scriptures, simply because they do not keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. In other words, the laws were not given to them, man. The Hebrew Israelites are the only ones that can understand the secrets of the Bible. No other nation, right? The Hebrew Israelites, they were given this law, right? And we have to abide by it, right? We have to observe the law, statutes, and commandments and keep them to the best of our ability, man. Let's get a couple more, all right? I'm not going to make this lesson too long, and I'm not going to make it too short. Keep it right there in the middle, all right? Let's get Sirach, chapter 24 and verse 23. All right? This is Sirach, chapter 24 and verse number 23. All these things are the book of the covenant of the Most High God, even the law which Moses commanded for an heritage unto the congregation of Jacob. So these laws that Moses gave, it was given to the congregation of Jacob. Now that congregation of Jacob is the Israelites, right? You read the first 5 books of the scriptures, you read into Exodus, right? It constantly says the congregation of Israel. The congregation of Jacob and the congregation of Israel is the same exact thing. Because we understand that Jacob's name was later on changed to Israel. right? And the congregation of Israel is his descendants, right? So the law, statutes, and commandments was given to a heritage to the congregation of Jacob, the congregation of Israel, right? Not to everybody else, man. Right? So always remember that these law, statutes, and commandments are for you and for you only, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. What you need to do is do what's required of you, which is keeping his law, statutes, and commandments, loving the Most High God, walking in all his ways, fearing him, right? Shalom, shalom, right? We have to continue to walk in these law, statutes, and commandments so that we can make it out of the destruction that's coming to America, right? Keeping the commandments and having faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahshai is what's going to help you escape out of America, man. When all hell breaks loose, we already see the famine coming, right? We see World War III on the rise, right? We see all these nations going against nations, man. We see the earthquakes. We see the pestilence, right? All these plagues coming about. All hell is getting ready to break loose. So it's time to take heed to these laws, statutes, and commandments and understand that these laws are not for everybody. And when you realize that these laws, statutes, and commandments are not for everybody, right, you take hold of them yourself because these are for you. These are for you and your descendants. These are for you and your children, your bloodline, which are Hebrew Israelites, man. All right? Let's get one more. All right? So like you. Let's get Baruch chapter 3 and verse 16. So like you. Let's get Baruch chapter 3 and verse. Let's start at verse 35, right? Baruch chapter 3 and verse 35. This is our God, and there shall none other be accounted of in comparison of him. Right? So there's nobody that can compare with our God, the God of Israel. Right? Every other God, man, these heathen made up, they're false gods. They can't save nothing. They can't do nothing. They can't speak. They can't make any miracles. They have no power, man. They are of nothing, right? Can nothing compare to the Most High God, the God of Israel, Yahweh, nor Yahweh Shai, man. Right? Verse 36, he hath found out all the way of knowledge and hath given it unto Jacob his servant and to Israel his beloved. Right? So this word was given to the Israelites, man. The knowledge of the scriptures was given and passed down to Jacob, to the Israelites, man. Not to everybody. Right? So there's no reason why brothers and sisters should be trying to go to seminary school, man. Right? And learn from Esau about a book that has nothing to do with him, man. Other than talk about his destruction. Through Genesis to Revelations is talking about the Hebrew Israelites. The Hebrew Israelites are the audience, man. Right? So no more going to seminary school, right? You might as well just kiss goodbye to churches, man. Right? And go out to the highways and byways where you're going to see the Hebrew Israelites, right? Because that's where you're going to find your wisdom. You're going to find the wisdom out there on the streets, right? You're going to find that wisdom, knowledge, or understanding from fellow brothers and sisters, the Hebrew Israelites that's out there teaching their people, man. All right, let's get that. Let's get Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 20. This is Proverbs chapter 1 and verse number 20. Wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets, man. That's where you're going to find wisdom, out there on the streets, right? And who's out there on the highways and byways, right? Kind of yelling loud, man, right? Teaching the people, right? Each and every day, the Hebrew Israelites, that's where you're going to find it at. You will find many of brothers out there on the highways and byways, on damn near every street corner you find, because we love our people, right? We willing to put our life on the line for our people, right? So with that being said, these laws, statutes, and commandments was given to the Hebrew Israelites and the Hebrew Israelites only, right? As parents, right, you have to teach them to your children diligently, right? So that it can be passed down to generation to generation, so that our nation could continue to grow. Because this is all about nation building, right? This is all about nation building. This is how you build up a nation, and it's through the commandments of the Most High, through these laws, statutes, and commandments that was only given to you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? So with that, right, that concludes the lesson, right? I hope a brother or sister was edified through these scriptures or through through the live, right? Let's remember that these laws, statutes, and commandments are only for you, and you have to keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. And for our parents, you have to teach them to your children, right? That's a duty, right? And that is commanded for you to do that. Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 6 on down to 7, right? So I hope our people was edified. I pray and hope that everybody's having a mighty day, man, right? Let's continue in the faith, Salakia, and have faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai. Continue to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments and endure unto the end, right? Kwam Yashala. Shalom.